Alright, hello and welcome back to another episode from MC Airsoft. I am Mark, and today we're going to be discussing why I hate playing at paintball fields. And some of these problems do apply to airsoft fields, some of them don't apply to certain paintball fields. Obviously, your experience may vary. I played at a paintball park years ago down on Camp Pendleton that some of these things didn't apply to because they had a cordoned off area specific to airsoft. But I've seen it enough, and it's enough of a problem that I felt like bringing it to some people's attention. Hopefully, if anyone actually watches this, and maybe it can help some parks out. Specifically, these reasons are why I will not be going back, at least anytime soon, to a certain paintball park in Las Vegas. So the first one is a lack of chrono, right? There's zero excuse why a paintball park or an airsoft park should be operating without a chronograph. Zero excuse. They cost $50, real cheap, right? You can get them anywhere that sells airsoft stuff, or a lot of places that sell paintball stuff. And it is a safety issue. If one player walks in with, I'm going to blame HPA here because it's the easiest, right? Not to say you couldn't do it with other guns, but HPA gun, if one player walks in with an HPA gun, gets angry or gets frustrated, or maybe they just want an advantage, and decides to crank their FPS way up and injure someone, that park is now liable and can be sued, right? Because the thing is, if your waivers don't actually hold up in court 99% of the time, and if a park is not enforcing safety concerns, that will void their insurance most of the time. And honestly, that player, if they have a good enough lawyer, could end up owning the paintball park after that. So that is a concern, right? But even if you're disregarding the injury side of it, because they're little plastic pellets, unless you get hit in the teeth, the eyes, maybe the eardrum, something like that, is it really going to do damage? Maybe not. It can, obviously, but maybe it won't. But even on a fairness standpoint, there is an advantage to shooting at a higher FPS. You can hop heavier BBs, you can shoot straighter with those heavier BBs, or you can shoot faster with light BBs and get more hits on target than you would normally. You can make your guns theoretically more accurate. Obviously, there's other upgrades that go into that, but still. But there's a balancing aspect too. So if you have one player who's playing within the rules, and maybe they have a semi-automatic, or they're using it only in semi-automatic under 400 FPS, and it's shooting just fine, it's acting as normal, and then you have another player who essentially has a DMR at close range, well, that DMR player is going to have a significant advantage. So from both a gameplay aspect and a safety aspect, that's a big issue. So second thing that ruins paintball parks for me is honestly all the paint, right? So I understand not every field has airsoft specific parks or cordoned off areas or whatever. So I don't expect it to be 100% clean, 100% spotless. My issue is when they are running paintball and airsoft on the same field during the same day, because then you're dealing with wet paint, right? Because most paint from paintball guns will dry at latest overnight, right? No big issue. So if Thursday, Monday through Thursday or whatever, it's paintball, Friday that park or that part of the park is specific to airsoft, it's probably going to dry overnight. You're not going to get wet paint all over the place. Most of us are wearing gear that is not machine washable, not easily cleanable, and is frankly more expensive than most paintball gear. And it's just designed a bit differently. Most paintball gear, you can throw it in the washer or spray it down with a hose, it's fine. Not all airsoft gear is like that. I ended up with the 2 times that I've gone to this park, because I figured I'd give it a second chance and I needed to test out some gear. And both times I ended up with paint all over the place, and it was annoying, which makes me not want to drive the hour and a half to pay the $27 or whatever it is, and play there. So yeah, at least let it sit overnight so you're not getting paint all over the place. If I wanted paint all over the place, I'd go play paintball. The third issue, and this applies to smaller fields and to bigger fields, and it applies to both airsoft and paintball, is a lack of team balancing, right? And so the problem is you take all the experienced players who know what they're doing, know how to operate within their area, and send them off on and operate as a team, and you send them off on their own team. That team is a significant advantage. Doesn't matter what kind of guns they run, communication and the ability to move and cover and find different and play the angles and everything like that, that's going to put you at a significant advantage over the newer players, right? So it's not just enough to split them up by numbers, right? Like the dodgeball style, you line everyone up, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, one's over there, two's over there. I'm sure we've all seen it. That's not enough, because you still get groups that are used to working together, and that will unbalance things, right? Same thing with greens versus tans. You get, me and my 5 buddies who we all know how to work with each other. We've all played together before, and we all coordinate that we're going to show up in tans. That's going to put things at a drastic disadvantage for the opposing team. And yes, they can work together and all of that, but it might be more beneficial to split the teams half and half and put them on opposite sides, or something of that nature, right? Or, take all of the beginner level players, you put them with the advanced players, and put all the intermediates on the other side. So that way, yes, the teams are about even population sizes or group sizes, but things are going to be a little bit more balanced, because everyone on the intermediate team can kind of hold their own, and the advanced and beginner team, most of them can't hold their own, but it also is teaching the beginners, which is a good thing, how to move, how to shoot, how to coordinate, how to communicate, and all those things. But also that team is probably going to be about even with the intermediate team, because 3/4 or half or whatever their team can't function appropriately, or can't function at the same degree, I should say. So let's see, was it number 4? Number 4 is lack of variety and player familiarity with the field, right? So if I've been playing for a while, but showing up to a new field, I don't know the field, and I'm looking around. I might be able to hold my own, kinda, but the people who, on the player familiarity side, the people who show up weekly or whatever, are going to know the field better, and are going to know, if I stick my muzzle through this hole, I can kind of see out of the corner of my eye, so it's not technically blind firing, and I know what area of the field I can cover. I know that if I go to this window, I can see a majority of the field, whereas if I go to this window, I can only see this little sliver. I know that my two buddies I'm with will go to these specific pieces of cover. I'm going to this one, and with that, we can hold down the entire field. Something of that nature. The field familiarity, I don't quite know how to fix that, aside from changing it every day, but it is an issue, and it is something that new players are going to be discouraged by, because they're going to get shot from areas they don't see, they don't know we're there, and that's going to be an issue, right? Fifth, so back to that one. The other problem is if I'm traveling up once a month to play the same field with the same people, it's going to get boring, especially just being the same people, just being the same field. Same people, that's okay, that I can deal with. But same field, I have issues with, because eventually it's going to get stagnant, it's going to get boring. Now, something bigger, like an outdoor field, that's a little bit different because it changes with the seasons, and different people showing up might breed differences, and generally those fields tend to change a little bit more, especially with growth and like brush and things like that, but growth of vegetation. And generally speaking, those ones get upgraded over time, whether you dig trench systems, build new fortifications, that kind of thing, whatever the case is. So the fifth one, and probably the biggest problem with paintball parks, is just not giving airsofters the attention. And I understand why, because it's not the same kind of profit margin, right? I don't know what the actual profit margin is for airsoft versus paintball, but just looking at the basic prices, right? You buy Issue .32s primarily, Elite Force primarily, and so that's going to run me about $25 plus tax for about 2,700 rounds. Whereas that might get me like 500 paintballs, something like that. So if you hear talking in the background, that's from my roommate. Mail just got delivered. But so that's an issue, right? That airsoft is cheaper, but that doesn't mean that you're not still paying your $25 or whatever it is to play there. The game should be interesting. They should be at least as interesting as the paintball games. Advertisements should be done for the airsoft fields, because also there's a lot less maintenance for the fields required for airsofters, so maybe you're making some money back there. Airsofters, from my experience, tend to buy more guns, more gear, but that's just my experience, my limited experience with paintball, and from what I've seen in paintball fields. So, and then there's the game modes where, typically with paintball, unless you're playing wood ball, if you're just playing in a city, you're probably playing speedball kind of thing, and there's not a lot of variation there. But with airsoft, a little bit of creativity could go a long way. Pretty much every game I've played at a paintball park ends up being attack and defend. With one flag, you can do capture the flag. 2 flags, you can do better capture the flag. Having one person be a high value target, could be another ref sitting out for that, or it could be a player who volunteers to sit out for that. Could be a high value target. You could do a zombie type game where 3 people start on one side, they don't have respawns, or sorry, they have unlimited respawns, and they respawn in place. And on the other side, if one of them gets shot, they walk over to the other team, and now there's more people on that team. Just a little bit of creativity goes a long way with airsoft. So, but in general, I would never recommend for an airsofter to go to a paintball only park. If the parks have airsoft as well, like an airsoft area or airsoft field, sure, but I would never recommend that airsofters go to a paintball park unless that is absolutely the only place in the area they can play, because at paintball parks you get less attention, less variety, you get more crap all over your gear. Generally, there's more, from my experience, there's more cheaters. It's just not a good environment for people to play, especially if they're beginners. So if you can avoid it, I would highly recommend avoiding going to paintball parks. But that's about all I wanted to say for today. So until next time, stay safe, stay hydrated.